Greatness to greatness.
Yes. Hey everyone, and welcome to Soul Star Cafe. My name is Ruth Perkinson, and I'm glad everyone is here with me today and my beautiful friend Scott McClaine. Welcome back, Scott.
Hey, I'm glad to be here, and I'm honored to be in your presence, Ruth.
Honored to be in your presence. Well, today we've got I think this is quite extraordinary, um, what we're going to talk about today. I'm almost getting a chill right now as we open up this talk about a very amazing thing that happened to you in the last few months, and that we wanted to share with everybody that's coming in to watch this video, whether it's now or sometime in the future, about what happened to you. So just as a quick reminder, both Scott and me are A Course in Miracles students, facilitators, teachers, and been doing it for a long, long time. And so often we know that the course is all about mind training, but oftentimes too we'll have like what we call, or what I call, a boots on the ground miracle, where something really does happen in the physical world, to demonstrate that we are really on the right track. So Scott, you had an amazing thing happen, and I wanted to bring you on to talk about that. So I'll hand it over to you and let you get started about this beautiful thing.
Okay, okay. Well, thank you for that. Now, with this, it was just start off just as a simple day, and I was at my mom's house, and I was washing dishes, and she has this really sharp knife, one of them Cutco knives. If anybody's familiar with them, this is really sharp. And so as I'm washing the knife slips, and it goes across my four fingers on this hand. And as it's going through, I can feel that sharp pain. I can see the blood coming out. I can actually see the white meat down inside of the inside of my fingers. And but as that was happening, I remembered that nothing real could be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. And herein lies the peace of God. And so that's the way the Course of Miracles kind of starts off, kind of early in the course. So I remembered that. And I just kind of slid my hand under the water and I started saying truth statements. I started remembering that what's true of God is true of me. I started, and as I was saying this, what's true of God is true of me. God is invulnerable, therefore, so am I. Of course, I started having these little thoughts that popped up in my head. And it was like a little laughter in a matter of speaking. It was my ego stepping up saying, well, you just cut yourself. Clearly, you're not invulnerable. And so I'm hearing this voice that pops up, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna release this thought. I'm gonna gift it to the Holy Spirit. To just using different strategies to silence that voice, to not to just silence it, but to get it out of me, to release it from me. And so I'm going back to the thought pattern. Um, God cannot be cut, therefore I cannot be cut. A little voice again. You just got cut. Yeah. And so again, I'm just taking that voice and I'm releasing it. I'm just like, it's in my mind. Let me just let it go. Whatever it is that's in me that's feeling fear, that's feeling vulnerable, that's feeling like that it's not wholly healed. Let me just release that. And I'm going back into the truth statements. I'm wholly healed. I'm one self. I'm one with the creator of the universe. And so I'm going into, and some of these are different verses from A Course in Miracles that are just scattered throughout, but it's some of my favorite verses. But I'm reminding myself of some of these pieces just consistently. And I'm right here in the moment. So every little thought that comes up, often the little thoughts come up and they go back down. And so we're almost unaware of the decision that we're making, that we're leaning in and learning from the egoic mind, teaching from the egoic mind. But it comes up and I'm seeing it because things are moving now in a slower pace. And so I see it. So now that I see it, I'm aware of it, I can release it. I can gift it to the Holy Spirit. I can let it go. And as I'm just going through this process just over and over again, just reminding myself of how powerful God is, reminding myself that what I see, what I feel is not necessarily the truth. Those are
Well,
those
yeah, keep going.
you know, those, and the way Joseph Murphy once put it, he say that our five senses are like gangsters and they're always lying to us. And so I'm reminding myself that just because I see it, just because I feel it, doesn't mean that it's true. What's true is that whatever I'm experiencing is a projection from my mind. And so,
So you gotta stop you right there because I just want to just for the people watching this. So basically, you're having this conversation in your mind, and you're
yes.
holding your hand over the sink here, the running water. At some point, when did you stop and remove your hand, or how? So it feels like time really was stopping and dilating almost.
Yeah, time really did just stop. It was because I was in that moment of now. And it was like a holy instant in the matter of speaking. And so my hand was just under the running water like this. And this was probably no more. All of what I've said so far has been less than a minute of time. It was just really just, the thoughts coming up. I'm releasing them, offering them to the Holy Spirit. I'm reminding myself of the truth. Um, and just as I'm going through this, and there was like a lot of negative thoughts. One of the things that it talks about in the course is that, in the back of the teacher's manual, it talks about the characteristics of the teachers for God, and one of them is honesty, where it says honesty is when there's no thought that contradicts another thought. There's no actions that contradict those thoughts. And I'm saying it out of order per se, but we're not everything we do, everything we're thinking, everything we're saying, all are in alignment with each other. There's nothing that's contradicting each other.
Right.
But I was noticing all of these little thoughts that was just in contradiction. So each thing that came up that was in contradiction, I gave it to the Holy Spirit or I released it. I got it out of my system.
Were you seeing an image? Like, in other words, when you had a negative thought, were you seeing that image come up, or you just kind of felt that come up,
It was,
or both?
it depends. I had it came up in different ways.
Okay.
Some was a feeling, some was a voice, some was just a clear thought, a loud thought. Some was the excruciating pain that popped back up in the head. So it's those combination of things. Oh, you going to the hospital for this one. It's just like, you know, it was a combination of different
Right,
things that the ego was just pulling up.
right.
As for each one of them, I had to go into kind of, you and I were talking just a little while ago about argument. I kind of almost argue with it in a matter of speaking, like, no, that's not the
Right,
truth.
right. So
Let me release this
you were
thought.
truly denying the ego. You were doing
Yes,
your best to deny, and that's what we call maybe the good argument, right? You were
yes,
denying the ego's ability to affect you.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
that's
And I
beautiful
was
stuff.
reconnecting, continuously reconnecting to God, reconnecting to all power. It's not just some power, but that's all power, right? And so I didn't have to be concerned with how things would unfold. I just knew and trusted. I had the faith that
There it
God
is.
would take care of it.
Right. So tell
Yeah.
me then, that's extraordinary. So as you're going through this process and being so honest, having the positive coming in and the negative and just really working with that, how long before you got into that really present memory of God and you noticed, then tell us what happened with your hand.
And so, like I said, this whole process was less than a minute. And
Wow.
so, and so I could feel, and it just says, and before I say that, let me go into this as well. I remember reading and hearing stories before about, more specifically, I guess, about some yogis per se that, they got cut or laid on the bed of needles or whatever, just all these different things along the way, and they didn't get injured from it. And so some of that even flashed across my own, like if they could do it, that means it's possible. If
Mhm.
it's possible, I'm reminding myself right now that all things are possible
Right.
through Christ. All things are possible with God. And so it's like I'm using all these different thoughts are coming to me, and it's all happening in a short period of time.
Mhm.
And so I felt my hand become uncut. The pain just went away completely. I could just feel it. And there was these
Was
three
it wrapped up in
fingers.
anything, or you just had it
No,
slipping?
I just had my hand under the water.
Okay.
Um, and so I can feel these three completely uncut. This one still had something happening. And at that point, I could feel this excitement come up. And I was just excited, like, "Ooh, these fingers were uncut. I was just and and I was ready to come out of this state. I don't even know what you would call this state, but I was in a certain state at this time. But I was ready to come out of the state because I was excited. Um, and but I got this nudge. It was like Spirit was just saying, Scott, whoa, hold up. You're falling for the ego's tricks right now. Um, and so I went, allowed myself to stay in that state. And at this point, I did grab off a piece of paper towel and I wrapped it around his finger. And I went into the room where my mom was. And so she see this paper towel around my finger. She was like, "Oh, what happened? What happened?" Kind of emotional. Like, "Did you cut yourself?" And I just looked at it and said, "Well, relax." I uncut myself. I grabbed the trash and I swept the floors and everything. I took the trash out, finished sweeping, and the whole time I'm having this same conversation with myself where the little thoughts have been popping up. "Oh, you cut, you're gonna have to go to the hospital." And then me doing the counter thought, releasing any of those. And then it was coming up so many different ways. However, it was coming up, I was just releasing it, gifting it to the Holy Spirit, and reminding myself of the truth. And so after I finished sweeping the floors, take out the trash, I went back into the room with my mom. She at this point was, you know, at peace, and she was like, "Well, what's going on with your finger?" So I pulled the paper towel off of my finger, and there's no blood on the paper towel at all. There's no cut on my finger, no scar, no blood, anything, nothing to be seen at all. And so my fingers completely uncut themselves in this process.
Wow. So from start to finish, and I'm so grateful you're talking about those, contradictory thoughts that were coming in. It's kind of like Joe Dispenza when he hurt his back, right? Every time he saw a wheelchair, he would start over and go through that process to heal his back. It's like this
Yeah,
beautiful,
yeah.
loving energy medicine that you're using with the Holy Spirit. So from the time you cut your hand to this, and when you started that process of getting present with God, remembering the truth, right? And having that conversation and then, of course, going out and your mom and sweeping. How long was it? Like 15 minutes, half an hour? How long was it?
Maybe 15 minutes at the most. Um, but as you can imagine, with me taking the step of acting as though nothing was injured, as I'm going through, I was not feeling any pain. I don't. It may have already been healed, um, but I had to go through the process, I believe, of acting as if, walking as if there was there was nothing that was wrong with me at all. That there was a complete healing that had taken place. So as I was taking out the trash, as I was sweeping, excuse me, I couldn't feel anything happening. So I wasn't surprised. I was excited, but not surprised when
Right.
I took the paper towel off
Right.
and to see that there was no blood and that there was no scar at all.
Right.
Um, I was excited, but not surprised.
Right. Wow, it's an incredible story of, and I call that a boots on the ground miracle. That you got into that zone, you worked a protocol in your mind, and you've been doing this A Course in Miracles for a long time, and you're really applying the principles of A Course in Miracles to this situation, staying present, remembering that you're God. There's no cut in God, there's no cut in you, right? God can't be cut, God can't be hurt, and neither can you. And
Right.
I love the way that you walked us through all that you talked to yourself about as you were disagreeing with the ego's version of being
Yes.
cut. And then you use the word uncut. I want to uncut my hand, just uncut. It's not cut. Wow, it's really a really incredible story, Scott. And I'm thanking you for bringing it up and us talking about it today. Is there anything else that might be helpful to express or share with anyone out there who might be wondering more about how did this guy uncut his hand in 15 minutes when it clearly looks like you probably should have gone to the hospital in the ego's world, stitches maybe, might have
Yes.
been, 4 to 6 weeks of healing. But you did this in 15 minutes.
Yeah. And one of the things that it stresses in the Course of Miracles is that healing is of the mind, period. Healing is of the mind. And so when you think about that part of it, healing is of the mind, and whatever we're experiencing is a projection from our mind. How long does it take to change your mind? How long does it take to bring a new image into mind? I believe the challenge that we often face is the same thing that I was doing this all in that short time period. We face that our thoughts are often contradictory.
Mhm.
And so I had the thought, now I'm in the small what God is in the large. And that's like, I borrowed this from Science of Mind. Just as a side note, I kind of look at some of their information as well because it's all complementary. It's just a different way of thinking about the same stuff. So I'm in the small what God is in the large. Therefore, what's true of God is true of me. God cannot be cut, therefore, nor can I. And so as I'm going through this process, the other voice is coming up, but you were just cut.
Mhm.
But sometimes we're not in the present moment. We're in the future. Oh, I need to go to the hospital, or I need to call the ambulance. What, if we're going into this fear, we're going into this different time, coming out of this present moment. We're not aware of the little thoughts that pop up. And I call them little, not because of the size of them, but because they speak to our littleness. Rather than speaking to our grandness, speaking to that part of us that is actually one with God. And so it's speaking to that littleness, that part of us that's separated and alone. And it speaks so loudly, it speaks so powerfully, maybe not powerful, maybe that's the inappropriate word, but it speaks in a way that is showing you, look at it, look at your hand. Look at all that blood that just went into the sink. Look at it. And so it's using our senses to remind us that we are small, to remind us that we are vulnerable. But to be able to, like I say, if we're not in a place where we're seeing those thoughts come up and be willing to release those thoughts, then those thoughts are left within us and we're creating our experience based off of these thoughts. If everything is a projection from our mind, what mind are we thinking from? Are we thinking from the mind of littleness, or are we thinking from the mind of Christ, of divine mind? And so often we are thinking from the mind of the ego, that mind of littleness. And we're actually unaware of it. I believe it says in the Course that sometimes we're making decisions so quickly that we're even unaware that we made the decision itself. And so when we're not in our present moment, it's easy for us to be influenced by our past. It's easy for us to be influenced by our fears. It's easy for us to be influenced by the thought pattern that we are separated beings, that we are this body that's sitting here in front of us. But if we can get into that moment of now and to just simply be here, you mentioned Joe Dispenza a little earlier. Joe talks about being in that place of nobody, no place, no time. And that's basically what was happening for me is I went into that place where time stood still for a moment. There was no time. I went into that place where I was denying that I was a body, and I was remembering that I was something else, and that something else is divine. That something else is much more magnanimous than just this body. Went into this place where I was nowhere really, because I wasn't focused on where I was. I was focused simply on the truth. And every other thought that came up that was in contradiction to it, it was a matter of me seeing it and releasing it. I didn't want to push it back in. I wanted to let it go. So I'm going to gift this to
Yes.
the Holy Spirit,
Yeah.
because if the Holy Spirit has it, I know I'm wiped clean of it. I want to just remember whose mind it is. Let me release this thought completely from me so that I'm no longer creating from this process. I want to be able to be in a place of freedom to have this moment be whatever this moment is going to be.
Well said, Scott. I mean, that's truly, thank you for unpacking all that because it's helpful for people watching this video to know you've got a true voice, which is the healer, and the false voice, and that's not the healer. And that false voice is going to give you every single programmed negative thought, taking you out of the present moment and trying to make you think something that you're not. And so I think that's extraordinary. So we are not these bodies, we are spirit. And when we identify with spirit, we have the power of the mind in us to really heal anything. And it starts with the mind. And that's really important. I think people often want to find something down in the physical world. No, it starts with how you had that beautiful mind training and you were able to really, really get in there and have a powerful healing. And thank you for that. So thank you for coming on the Soul Star Cafe and talking about all this. With us, the uncut hand is what it sounds like, right? And so
Yeah,
then after that, you had no pain at all, nothing happened, it
nothing,
was all good.
nothing.
Wow.
Now, and I will say that later that day, I was talking to a couple of friends of mine, and I was talking about the process. And as I was talking about it, I was actually in disbelief personally. And this hand started opening back up. This finger started opening back up right up in here, and I could feel it. And so it was a matter then of me going right back into my truths, and it was healed again.
Wow.
But and I say it was healed. My thinking was healed again. Now, Ruth, I do want to share this just really quickly. That what I did was nothing special, and I say it that way because it was not something that is unique to me. If anyone follows these same thought patterns, these same principles, the same effects they will be able to have.
Right.
It's about us getting into true alignment with ourselves first, understanding that we're one with God. That's the truth of who we are. And so all of the thoughts that we have, whether it's in our conscious thoughts or our unconscious thoughts, all of the thoughts we have of separation, all the thoughts we have of not being worthy, all the thoughts we have of littleness, of being small, of being just the simply defined by this body, the more we let go of those thoughts, we reconnect to the thoughts of our truth,
Mhm.
then healing takes place. I'm pointing to my head, but wherever the mind actually is, because it's not in this body, well, wherever the mind is, our
Yeah,
mind becomes healed.
exactly.
And in that, you know, all things are possible
Right.
with Christ who
Right.
strengthens me.
And
And so it's
that,
just a matter of remembering that. And this works for
yeah, it
everybody.
absolutely is a matter of remembering who you are, which you are divine. You're
Yes,
the Son of God.
yes,
You are the Christ. That's who you are. We are in perfect oneness with God. And when we're in that perfect oneness with God, we can use the power of the mind of God, the mind of Christ, the mind of the Holy Spirit in that alignment to help us down in the earthly plane with some of the things that we deal with. And so the body is in the mind, right? The body is in the mind. I love
yes,
that.
yes, yes.
Well, thank you so much, Scott, for this incredible story and for always having the willingness to come on and share your wisdom.
Yes. My
Yeah.
pleasure. Ruth, I'm
Yeah.
honored to be here with you. Thank you.
Honored to be here. All right, guys. Well, this is again the Soul Star Cafe. Thank you so much for joining Scott and me today. This beautiful expression of healing through the mind. It all starts at that level. It's the mind and the thoughts that do all the healing. And Scott was a great demonstration today of how he denied the ego's ability to affect him in all the ways he could think of in that now moment. And he had a great, beautiful healing in the hand. Thank you so much, Scott. We'll see you here soon.
Enjoy. Thank you.
All right. Take care. Take good care.